little lumpy this morning. There's two of us came out. Oops.
Yeah, it's tough in the bright light to set that camera up because I can barely see in the screen when it's so bright. The flip out screen or the eyepiece. So if I'm in the shot, I'm in the shot. If I'm not, oh well. Pretty sure that big bear just laid down just inside the shadows there. I can just see a piece of his butt. But anyway. The last day here. I'm going to go home later today. I had to take a couple layers off already. It's so freaking warm. I get warm quick. Now, a quick note. One of the people I do listen to sometimes online, I'm looking for somewhat as much truth as I can find on numerous topics. I listen to Michael Jaco on Rumble. I just listened to a video with him and another guy, real good at conversation. The title of the video is Live CGI Moment That Has Everyone Blown Away. And his guest makes some really great points that a lot of people should probably have a go at if they got time or if they're interested or motivated, right? And I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to sound like a broken record when I always say that we are being ruled by criminals, but it is the sad truth. And I hope that I can encourage as many people as possible to look into truth when they can. Now, in the meantime, let's get this shared. Speaking of truth. Hey, Steve, I'm about 20 miles outside of Nashville, Tennessee, in the sticks of Shackle Island. A couple years ago when I was 14, I'm 17 now, we had a bird that had somehow gotten in my grandma's house one night and had gotten behind the TV. My grandmother told me to open the back door and to wait till the bird came around to it. I was just standing there holding the door open and heard this weird scream. It wasn't real loud at first, but it was really scary, and I was younger at the time. I yelled for my grandmother to come over and wait to hear the scream I heard. She told me to be quiet and stop making things up. When this yell happened again, it was much louder and sounded like a mixture of a fox scream and a turkey screaming its head off. My heart was beating real fast and I was getting scared, to tell you the truth. I yelled to her this time and she finally came over. Yet again screamed and it was loud. So she then said, "Oh shit," and shut the door real quick, told my other two brothers to put a sheet over the TV and to go to bed. I didn't sleep at all that night, and when I dozed off every now and then, I'd hear that scream and wake up sweating and tears in my eyes. This being was not 1,000 yards from the back porch that sat about 20 feet off the ground. Thank God it was across the creek in the farmer's land. God bless you, Steve, and your family. I'm glad I found your channel. I hope all is well to you. I've had other accounts of creepy things if you'd like me to share. You can use my name, Caden Harrington. Caden, thanks for being brave and emailing in, man. And if you got more to share, especially if you think it can help people here or in your community, then yeah, man, email it to me, all right? Email it to me. We'll check that screen out and see how I'm making it. All right, try this rock for a bit. You can see behind me a little more. That big bear is laying down in that shadow right there. I can just see his butt. It's probably about 400 yards away. Maybe I'll row over there in a bit and see if I can't go videotape him, maybe. It's a freshwater creek coming up behind me. Tons of oysters on the ground behind me. I can videotape 3 bears in here behind me yesterday in the rain. But anyway, thanks again, young man. And I'm sure you know it. There is no shortage of stuff going on in Tennessee. Absolutely no shortage, is there? But be safe out there, man. Be aware and share the truth with as many people as you can, okay, man? Don't be scared. Don't be scared of the truth. Don't be scared of sharing the truth. At least you did it, right? Terrifying encounter at a military prison is the title of this one. Hey, Steve, after you shared my encounter about what I saw on the quarry, I told a couple of people I work with the next day. I couldn't believe what I was told by one of them next. Carl, who was my boss, said that he was doing a stint at a military prison for the remainder of his sentence. It was the middle of the summer, and the billets where they slept always had the doors open during the night. The night this happened saw him go to his bed following his gym session. He said he was just drifting off to sleep, laying on his side with his back to the open doors when he heard heavy breathing, growling, literally right behind him. He said he turned over to be met by an outline of something massive and still breathing like it was about to attack him. Steve, he then said he turned away terrified. He said he turned over again, ready to fight, and it was gone. Now this guy's a no-nonsense man who is built like a gorilla, Steve. He is not the type to bullshit you. So this shit's going on, no matter what continent you float on. Thank you for your sheer honesty and tenacity with regards to everything you do. Regards, Paul Moxon, UK branch of the Club of No Return, which is definitely not a small club chapter over there, is it? I remember your story about the gravel pit, the thing on the edge of the pit, and I think that was where you said you guys ran up there and it was a fox asleep right there or something. Somewhat alarming, right? Let me know if there's a bear behind me, you guys. Thanks for emailing in, man. And keep emailing us too, all right, from over there with more truth that you come across. My new puzzle piece. Hello, Steve. I've been sitting on this email for a while. I'm sharing my encounter to hopefully help folks get a new piece to their puzzle, like all of you have done for me. My encounter originally had nothing to do with the forest people. I've never had a huge interest in Bigfoot, mainly because it's been quite clear for a long time that most of the mainstream info on that subject is garbage. I always had no doubt that there were things living out in the world that people aren't privileged to know about. I've had many things happen in my life. However, I've had many more I didn't realize were connected to the forest people until I started listening to this channel, and here is one encounter. Back in the early 1990s, I'd gotten off work around 10 p.m. I was 18 at the time. Some friends had picked me up to take me to one of our massive parties we would sometimes have in the woods. This particular one was taking place deep in the Cascade Mountains in Oregon. Our parties were big enough to where we had to be out a ways in the woods to not get messed with by the authorities. When we got in there was probably at least 50 people there already. They had a big fire, music, plenty of party favors going around everywhere. Being that I just got off work, I was completely sober. We had not done anything on the way up to the party. Being the person that I used to be, I couldn't wait to start getting all effed up. One of the first people I started talking to when I got there was a friend's older brother. We were friends as well, but we typically didn't hang out together. We were standing by his truck, and he asked me if I wanted to go smoke a bowl of some of his amazing smoke he had. He didn't have. I think we read this, didn't we? Why does this keep happening? Oh no, we haven't. We haven't read it. Sorry, you guys. We were standing by his truck, and he asked me if I wanted to go smoke a bowl of some of his amazing smoke he had. He didn't have a lot, so he didn't really want to bust it out in front of everyone. There's another friend standing there as well. This third friend was someone that we were both friends with, but the three of us had never hung out together before. The landscape of where we were at was like this. We were in a clearing, a thick forest, on a bit of a hill. The clearing was roughly 500 feet by 400 feet, surrounded by thick timber. You could tell that where we were was a logging area that had been cleared for a little while. To the northeast of us, there was a logging road that cut into the timber. The trees in that area were old-growth pine trees. The three of us jumped into the older brother's truck and headed down the logging road to smoke a bowl. The road only went about 200 feet through the trees and opened up onto a cliff of a rock quarry. We parked the truck on the cliff. Me and the friend hopped out of the truck and went to the cliff while the other friend loaded the bowl. We used to do this thing we call an eagle scream. It's where you yell, scream as loud as you can with everything inside you. If you do it as intended, it typically sounds unhuman, and kind of scary. Well, the third friend came out of the truck with the bowl, and I'd convinced them both to do the eagle screams. We hadn't smoked anything yet, mind you. There we were, three young adult teenagers, letting out ungodly shrieks, screams/yells rip over the cliff out into the valley. When we had stopped, one of us noticed down across the valley, about a quarter of the way up another hill, a large, perfect camp-like fire in the thick trees. It looked extremely abnormal. I guess mainly because of how far away it was, and it was very white and yellow. It was roughly 1,700 feet away as the crow flies. As we watched it, it began to rise up into the air, still maintaining the look of a perfect camp-like fire. Once it reached an altitude relative to ours, it slowly started to move in our direction, very steady. As it got about halfway to us, it was different. I don't know at what point it changed, but it was different. It changed to what I can only describe as a rough geometric design that would look like an airplane if it were very high up in the sky. A blue light on one wing, I guess you would call it, and a red light on the other. It moved so unnaturally steady and slow, no sound. Once it was about 200 feet from us, the image dissipated. A triangle, measuring roughly 80 feet on each side, emerged. It moved extremely slow and steady. It never stopped moving that I can remember throughout the entire encounter. As it reached us, it was at a height above us that matched the height of the trees we had drove through, roughly 50 feet in the air. As it began to move over the top of us, it took up what seemed like the entire sky. It was so massive and so close, it did not really make a sound. It was more like the sound of breathing or breath. It kind of changed the air around us. The material that it was made of had a shine to it that I can't place to this day. It was black yet silver. We were only really able to see the underside of this thing. It had a white light at each corner. There was a red light towards the front. There was also a rectangular bay door type shape in the middle, but more towards the front. The rest of the surface on this underside was what I can only describe as a complicated network, possibly piping or something. I'm like a caveman describing a Lamborghini, lol. The object continued to move over us. It was so steady, it was like it was moving on a track. The speed was less than that of a walking speed. It literally defied everything just being there. It passed over us and continued away from us, gradually increasing speed as it got past us. I began to chase after it, not understanding why it was leaving. As it disappeared over the tree line, several pickup trucks came through the woods from our party. They got to me first as I had been running after this thing. They asked me what we were doing out there for so long. Apparently we had been gone for a couple hours. It couldn't have been more than maybe 20 minutes total that we were gone from our perspective. The pieces of this puzzle you folks have provided me with is that I believe the object was interacting with forest people. The eagle screams we were doing, I'm thinking, may have sounded like forest people. Maybe that's why it came over to us. I would never thought this had anything to do with Sabe until I started listening to your channel. Later that night, a few of us had seen a red orb in the trees. It seemed like it was trying to hide, but it wasn't doing a good job of it. I hope this helps someone, as it is never helped me. You can never convey to anyone the magnitude of an experience like that. It's just too much. There's definitely a connection, at least to me, with the Sabe and objects that have been seen in the sky. Like you have said, this opened up so many doors for me. I knew for certain that I'd been lied to about what was really going on in the world. Focusing only on learning about strange objects in the sky was not an option. There was much more to this. I've always felt that I was in my own club of no return. Kind regards, B. Edited. Just listened to your video about the scientific study from the gentleman who was a nuclear engineer. I'm absolutely convinced now that one I seen is linked to the Sabe. Below is only for you, Steve. Please do not share on the video. Okay, man. Okay, gotcha, man. Don't be leery about sending anything, all right? And just so you know, I've had more than a handful of people email the same thing, all right? And about those marks that you mentioned as well, okay? Now, don't be scared of sharing your truth, all right? Do not be scared of sharing your truth. Somebody out there has experienced the same thing you have. Well, we already all know that, all right? But do not be scared of anyone ever, and do not be scared of sharing your truth, and make sure you share it more, okay? If you come across anything that's going to help anyone, after you hear me reading this, make sure you get it into me or get it into somebody, all right? Don't be scared. I'm just looking for bears, you guys. If you see me looking around, I'm just looking for bears. There is so many here, it's stupid, and the tide's going down, and oh, my boat's almost high and dry. Oh. All right, you guys, I can't seem to relax right here, and the tide's going out, my boat's almost high and dry. So I think what I'll probably do is I'll finish these up and carry on to the regular. I've got to be solo at home for the next few days, so I got lots of time to make videos and get caught up on everybody's shares, and I'll do that, all right? So unless something significant happens, I probably won't be videotaping from here until a later date. All right? I'll be back shortly. Or I'll add some onto this one and see what happens. Oh, all right, this is going to work better for me. Facing the timber. I'm not getting that glare off the water or facing the sun, so it's going to kind of come from there, and the chance of a bear coming up right behind me there is really high, so why bother doing that? Now let's listen to this one. Walking up through one of our many local parks in town, I found this track, and just a few feet from it I saw a branch that had been tied in a loop, and about 50 feet up the trail, 2 limbs had been snapped off about 40 feet up a healthy oak tree. I looked at the limbs and they were healthy, no rot at all. They're from the under the canopy. No other limbs were damaged. I went up out of the park to the upper side to see why they were snapped off. Mind you, these limbs were 4 and 6 inches in diameter. They don't just fall off. When I got up top, I walked around the tree and I noticed a big limb just below where they were snapped off. And being a hunter and spending a lot of time in a stand, I know you have to snap off some twigs to get a clear line of sight. I looked to see where it could have been looking, and it was very obvious, straight across the park. From that point, it could clearly observe several homes, not more than 120 yards. A great vantage point. I think they have been using this access down through the park to get to the deer population in town. Easy access in and out without being noticed. After being screamed/roared at in my home, after marking my territory, I know they are here. I included pics of the track and the branch tied in a loop. Has anyone else seen something like this? I did contaminate the track. I stepped into it to see how big it was compared to my boot. It was about 16 to 17 inches long. Thank you once again for doing what you do. This volume of truth coming out can only help. If it saves one person or one child, it's made a difference. You keep asking why they parallel people while walking out. I think they're just escorting you out the best what they know how. We all know if they wanted our ass, they could with ease. Thank you once again. Be safe. Feel free to contact me, Dondi in Jamestown. There's definitely a branch tied up, isn't it? And another classic footprint. And there you go. Thanks for sending in, man. Appreciate it. The vantage points. I've heard a lot about the vantage points. Kind of weird, isn't it? I mean, why are you going to set up a vantage point to watch a population of human beings that aren't planning to attack you? Isn't that weird? You go set up in this human community and sit there and stare at them for a while. I don't get it. My story. Steve, I really enjoy your stories. It's made me think more and more about my own story. I live in South Central Kentucky, right on the Tennessee line. I was born and raised in Tennessee, but married just across the line in Kentucky. My family owned a couple of farms in Kentucky. It was in October 1990 at our farm, about 4 miles in Kentucky. I had just had my son a couple weeks before this. My parents were stripping tobacco, and my brother was rolling hay. I decided to bring their lunches so they could play with baby. I went to where my brother was working first. I'd park and walk about a quarter mile to get to him. Keep in mind I was packing a newborn and his lunch. I also had to wait for him to come back around in the lot by myself. He got off the tractor and played with baby a minute, and he started eating his lunch. We were sitting there when all of a sudden we heard something behind us in the woods growling at us. Well, neither one of us said anything, we just kept talking. It growled again, and we both jumped up. He grabbed me and the baby and ran us to the car. He went back, got on the tractor, and finished his hay, looking over his shoulder for something. Keep in mind, in our area, we do not have bears or anything that would growl at us. We both had a terrible feeling about the whole thing. Needless to say, no one believed us. My parents since then have seen a big black hairy something in their pasture a few times, but nothing else. A neighbor built an off-grid cabin in the same place. He's heard many times, but never got a good look at it. Sorry for a long post. You can use my name if you like. Keep up the good work. Regina Rich, Scottsville, Kentucky. And there's more people entering the Club of No Return without asking to. One after the other. Thanks a lot for the email, Regina. Keep us posted with knowledge if you come across it, okay? Oh, here's one. This was a reply from a reply, I think. Brittany Marie. Answer. Brian and Owlman from Brittany Fleming. Hello, Steve. Thanks again for what you've created here with your channel. I must say my gratitude runs deep right now for the answers I got. You can share this with everyone if you'd like. My answers for the questions are as follows. I was not afraid at all during the encounters. The one encounter a year ago did have my heart pounding, but I found myself making somewhat light of the communication by saying, well, we're not all bad either, and kind of found myself laughing a little. After that, fast forward to that dream-like incident when I heard the purring and saw the daughter and mother, my feelings were overwhelming. An overwhelming feel of deep compassion and love. A content, innocent, pure feeling. It reminded me of when I would lay down and nap with my newborn girls. The most peaceful, loving feeling you share with your children. When we heard the roar/howl up at our cabin, after it was done, my sister and I both looked at each other with a complete shock look and a bit of excitement. I then said, I guess he's letting us know he's here. I live in the interior of Alaska, but I do want to add something. There was 2 things that were mentioned that I can say with my experience to be true. They do follow you. I grew up in Utah and had something happen to me when I was in my younger years while at a camp for a week. There may be some truth to that being marked or watched over by them. I also want to add something really important. There is no hiding anything from them. I do know from my experience, they know you for who you truly are. There's no bullshitting around with that. Since then, when I wrote to you, Steve, there is much more that has happened that has been nothing less than awakening, learning experience, and a deep learning of myself That's a duck. A deep learning of myself, or remembering, if you could say that. Thank you, Steve, greatly for this, and I have a great, deep gratitude for the Owl Man, Brian, and the elder Native women. I cannot express how thankful I am right now for this information and help. It couldn't have come at a better time. There's definitely no coincidence in this life, that is for sure. Your friend from Alaska, Brittany Marie. Okay, Brittany, and I see there's another chunky email here written for me. It's a long one. I'm going to have to read it after, all right? Because if I pause and read it right now, everybody will choke me. I'll mark this again to come back to it. Brittany, it's a great thing that you received help from the Owl Man and Brian and the elder First Nations lady. That's what this channel's all about, right? It's a good thing. I'm so tired right now, you guys. It's ridiculous. I think I was up at 5 o'clock and we were beating our way out in the coast in frickin' 14-foot rollers and swells and fog. Couldn't see anything. Got the shit beat out of us. Caught some fish. And then I went and pulled 500 feet of prawn trap rope prawns. And I'm a little beat up. Yeah, a couple red-headed mergansers come around the corner. They don't like me. But anyway, sorry about that little babble there. Brittany, this is it's just all music to my ears. Reading your email and having everybody connected through here and having the assistance that you received, right? It's a great thing. And if you can, please email us back with more knowledge, more experiences, and anything that you feel may help somebody else. All right? Be safe out there, Brittany. All right. One more. I'm just too tired for this right now, you guys. I hope I'm not butchering anything. The sun's making me want to curl up in that grass over there and fall asleep. South African input. Hello, Steve. I hope this email finds you well. I've been thinking of writing to you for a while. I never thought what I had to say would be worth your time. However, I finally realized every new piece of information helps. Yes, it does. Thank you for emailing. You made the right decision. Growing up in South Africa, you get exposed to several different cultures. As a result of all this diversity, for instance, we have 11 official languages, and many people being able to speak at least 3. Wow, that's crazy. I have a distinct memory from kindergarten where we were educated on the Sosa superstitious being called the Tokoloshi. Listening to your channel makes me believe this is the same little men of the forest that have come up in your videos. We are taught about how mischievous these little men were, resulting in many Xhosa people, Xhosa, X-H-O-S-A, Xhosa people putting bricks underneath their beds to elevate it beyond the Tokoloshi's reach. I don't remember other specific things, but the general idea was that these guys caused trouble. My Sepidi friends also taught me once that seeing a white person in the mountains in rural Limpopo is an indication of a mermaid. This is just the tip of the iceberg of all the strange beliefs in our country. Some generally just seem nuts, but others, I feel, need to be considered before being dismissed. A famous conservationist from our country, Lawrence Anthony, spent a decent amount of time in his books mentioning weird things that happen to him in nature. I am sure if I were to go digging, I would find many other examples of strange happenings and beliefs in this part of the world which correspond to what gets experienced in other parts of the world. Without a doubt, please do. There might not be any well-known story of a Bigfoot-like being, but who knows? Maybe one day, one will come up. All these stories might just be rooted in truth. One thing I've experienced for myself, however, was that eerie feeling of being watched. When I was 13, I spent a lot of time hiking in nature with my best friend, and I distinctly remember how one day we were exploring a new section of the mountain. My best friend and I were both quickly filled with unease, and I felt like someone was there, watching me. We left a lot quicker than we would have hoped, returning to a more familiar area. Another day, we were hanging out by a favorite spot of ours near a stream, when again suddenly we became uneasy. We started hearing voices, like people were approaching us. We, for some reason, felt the urge to hide, and although it seemed like the voices were coming closer, their owners never appeared. As soon as they stopped, we rushed home and didn't see any indication of the people that were talking. I'm still confused by that day as I write it down now. Still, that feeling of overwhelming fear was there. These 2 times are the most distinct memories I have of being terrified in nature, and it feels so weird, since there wasn't any obvious reason for me and my friend randomly feeling terrified. If it were just me, I would blame it on just being a normal childlike uncertainty. But the fact that my friend and I both felt it almost made it more scary. Anyway, that's my 2 cents in the matter. This whole topic honestly unsettles me, but I still try and watch your videos since every viewer helps this topic get out there, and the truth needs to come out. The world isn't as simple as they want us to believe. Thanks for all you do, Steve. Feel free to mispronounce my name out loud. Henry. All right. Yes, I do mispronounce a lot of shit on here, but the message gets across, doesn't it? South Africa, I'll guarantee if you do digging over there, you're going to hear something. We already had somebody email us from Africa about, I think it was a white kid being left with some villagers. I just read that a little while ago, and he ran around basically clothed, without any clothes on, like the rest of the kids, playing in the dirt and shit. And they saw that hairy being down in a valley or hollow or whatever. But there is strange shit that goes on in Africa for sure. There's strange shit that goes on everywhere. We're being lied to. We're being misled from a very young age. Frustrates me. I don't have the right camera to record these and upload from where I am this week. So what I was doing though, when I had any kind of internet connection, I listened to people who I feel are very knowledgeable. They dig. Their due diligence is something to be commended. And I don't know how I can encourage many people to do the same. I wish I could encourage every single person on the face of the planet to do the same. It's just tough, right? And sadly, a lot of people don't want to know the truth. They do not want to know the truth. They want to keep their head down, gaze at the ground, do what they're told, go where they're directed, and try to find some sort of comfort. And it seems, too, a lot of these people seem to be just trying to get through this lifetime. And that is so wrong. I hate that. I hate seeing people just trying to get through this lifetime. It's not the way it's supposed to be. It's not. But anyway, that's why we're here. Alright, I'm going to sit on that stump and face this way for a while and see what's going on. And I will be back again, probably from the man cave or somewhere on the property. Maybe down by the river. See what's going on down there. I think there's a bunch of sockeye salmon on the river. Maybe I can throw the camera down there and record some cool life down there. But anyway, I will be back shortly. Keep emailing it in, you guys.